Why did you connect with California?
So many of my close friends are here. I'd say since I left home, I've never really had the place that feels like that's my home. I had never been to London before I moved there. It was like, this is a new challenge.
The whole thing seemed to me to just be a new challenge. It was crazy watching it kind of from a distance. And
one of my favorite memories, when we'd just been formed as a band, there was like a picture of us that had been taken from when we were at the show, like someone's mum had taken it. And we'd heard this picture was being put in the paper. The five of us left this little bungalow and walked down to the newsagents and got the paper and then came back passing around the paper. And we're like, let me see it again, let me see it again.
That first real piece of like recognition.
Yeah, because we were watching X Factor at my cousin's house the day that my audition went on air. And then we're driving home, I'm in the petrol station. This guy goes, were you just on X Factor? And I was like, yes, I was.
Fast forward to the end of it and having some independence for the first time, really to kind of do whatever you want. How did that feel?
Pretty amazing, actually. I didn't really have a plan for like when I wanted to make a record. I knew I wanted to start writing. The best way I've ever heard songwriting described is like, it's kind of like surfing. You can practice getting up on the board and sometimes the wave just doesn't come. Or the wave comes, but you haven't practiced getting up on the board enough. Every now and again, you've practiced enough and the wave comes and that's when you write the song. In the band, if I'd ever written stuff that was just with a friend or something, it was kind of like, well, I'm not gonna release any music, but what would it sound like if I was to write a song that was for me? I knew that like maybe one day I'd want to do it, but I wasn't like, I can't wait to get out of this thing so I can go and make my own record.
Yeah.
You know?
So did the end of it creep up on you?
The last year of it, we all kind of knew we were going to stop at the end of that year. There was a part of me, all of the decisions I'd made as an adult had been made as a group. I felt like I need to make some decisions that just affect me.
Zayn already did that and he bounced out mid-tour.
I mean, it was hard. We were sad, obviously, that someone had left, but also sad that he was not enjoying it so much that he had to leave.
When you started on this new album, Right on Fine Line, had your opinion changed about your self-titled debut?
I can hear all of the places where I feel like I was playing it safe because I just didn't want to get it wrong. I guess a big part of going into this album was I want to work out how to make all of this feel really fun. I was kind of trying to redefine what success meant to me. And one of my friends kind of said, if you're happy doing what you're doing, then nobody can tell you you're not successful. And also, I guess, when I was in the band, the last 3 records we made on the road, and I had friends who were musicians who I knew they would tour, and then they would take 6 months off to go and make a record.
Into a process.
And I used to be like, what, so you're just like, that's all you're doing
You're
right
in
now?
room 1607.
You're just making...
At the Marriott in Hong Kong, trying to nail a vocal.
Like 4 mattresses and one over the top. Yeah, exactly. On the last 2 tours as well, we bought this like old surveillance van and converted it into a studio so it would follow the tour around. So like at the venue, you'd go into this tiny little surveillance van that had no air conditioning.
What, you and One Direction would go in the back, we recorded songs in the back of a van on the road.
It's fun to record it like that. It's just a totally different process.
The album starts with Golden, which is like, you said before, that vulnerability is the way to great friendship, and I feel like that song establishes that.
Golden, we wrote on day 2, and immediately as soon as we'd done it, it was like, oh, this is track 1.
You knew it.
Right. Because I always end up with track 1 and the last track, and then you're like, okay, let's see what.
So you knew Fine Line would be the last track?
Yeah, as soon as we
Did you know it was the album title as well?
No.
I heard that the first person you played the full album to was Liam Gallagher.
We were working in a studio in London, and he was in the studio next door. He kind of just ended up in there listening, which was crazy. You know, I was a massive Oasis fan growing up.
I'd imagine Watermelon Sugar would have been a standout for him.
None of that stuff was finished. I don't think they had horns on it yet.
Right.
Lights Up, Adore You, Treat People. Yeah, those 3 I think hadn't been done yet. They were all like the last week.
Watermelon Sugar, which at this point is out, and everyone's kind of figured out what it's about. The joys of mutually appreciated oral pleasure.
Is that what it's about?
Is it?
I don't know.
That's what everyone's saying.
Oh,
Always good to
crazy.
leave it open to interpretation.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
But it's something that just seems to kind of have followed you around, that idea of you not just being a sex symbol, but that a lot of your music is inspired by this.
I guess the thing with like sex, it used to feel so much more taboo. Even just like coming into this record, I wanted to feel a little less like guarded with stuff. I wanted to feel a lot freer and just more joyful and like honest. And
It feels to me, this album in part, it feels like a breakup record. It's a song called Cherry, which is cutting right to it.
I don't like to kind of explain songs. With this record, it's so much more open.
Yeah.
That it's like, but you've told us in there.
Yeah.
Like, it tells you what it is. A thing that I like about kind of definitely where this record went, it feels like I just start writing some songs. So then I can be as honest as possible. And then the time when you get to decide if you think it's too honest is when you're putting it out. I wanted to be true to the moment that I wrote it and how I was feeling then.
How are you feeling then?
Not great. I think there's something with Cherry where it's like the night that I wrote it, everyone had left the studio. It was me, Tyler, and Sammy, who's our engineer. I have all these ideas about records that I want to make, and I want to make this record in 5 years. I want to make this record in 10 years. And Tyler just said to me, you just have to make the record that you want to make right now. So then we stayed up and wrote Cherry that night.
Who's speaking at the end? What's the vocal at the end that cuts
That
in?
was my ex-girlfriend. Because it got added in later on, and it felt so part of the song.
There's a song called Falling on the record. Tom was telling me that came super fast.
I was showering, and he was like playing on the piano, and as I came out of the shower, he was playing like the dun 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 dun. I went and stood next to him at the piano, just in a towel. We just kind of wrote the whole thing. So it was really fast.
How long did it take?
Probably 20 minutes.
What do you think you were saying in that song, listening back to it now?
The chorus says like, what am I now? Am I someone I don't want around? It was kind of like, it was a big moment where I was kind of asking myself like, who am I? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I kind of started to feel like threads of where I could see myself becoming someone that I didn't want to be.
And who helps you at those moments? Does your mum still play a really important role?
I'm so lucky with my family. They've always just been really supportive. She's like the kindest woman I know. I just don't think she has like a bad bone. It's amazing. She's the best.
Who do you miss the most? Who do you wish was still around?
Stepdad passed away a couple of years ago.
And what have you learned sort of going through life now as you're kind of experiencing loss? Because we all have to cross that bridge. And
yeah.
What are the things that come into focus for you now?
Friendships are probably just the most important thing to me. Like,
you keep going.
Oh yeah.
Still speeding.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay, great. And I think part of the thing with like the mushrooms thing for me is that when I was in the band, I was like, I'm not gonna be the guy who messes it up. So I was like, I'm not gonna do any of that stuff. Making this record, I just felt so much more joyous, and I was with my friends, and we were in Malibu.
Safe.
And it was like, yeah, I felt so safe.
And that's where you're at now, I guess, as you redefined success and you had fun making this album, is that you're just trying to worry less?
I'm just trying to go through life being a little less worried. If you get to make stuff that you're passionate about, then you're happy and no one can call you unsuccessful, which is great.
That's the redefinition of success, my man. Thanks for your time, bro.
Thank you.